Hello, trading has closed on January 8th, 2024. As always, we'll start with our disclaimer. We'll go over our calls and then make some predictions. It's my trading plan for tomorrow, which is January 9th. Please remember I can be wrong, and any trade you make should be made at your own risk. Also remember, in spite of the long-term picture, I'm just taking things a day at a time. Look for the pattern today with the early high. This is it, and tomorrow should have the early low. We had a target 47.14.24, and that printed. We made a case for Friday's low, if it held, being at a low. And so far that's played out. We said if we gapped under it, we could keep on dropping, but if we didn't gap under it, particularly if we gapped up, we could have a strong rally. We said we could even take out some of these highs. Now we did say that my rule is the pattern of the first two trading days of the year tends to be contrary to the rest of the week. Well, the first 2 days were down. Here's 5 days, and you see that was all reversed. And that's all we have to do to follow the rule. Not going to claim it works every time, but it works often enough. And this is just a reminder of what we said. We got a VIX Bollinger Band reversal signal. We said we were close to one for the NASDAQ McClellan oscillator, and now we have it. Those tell us higher prices are coming, but doesn't mean they have to come tomorrow. It's the pattern with the early low tomorrow. There is a lower target, 47.30.43. If we don't gap up smartly, the rules call for that to print. Now the system typically leaves a failed target at major changes in trend, so that might not work. It's pretty far away, but if we start down, I don't think it's unreasonable. I just hate to post this after a move like this, but I think it could print, even though I'm saying it might not. MEJT says this afternoon rally isn't for keeps. The question is, do we get an ultimate sell signal in the morning? Now, you know, the rules, I've shown you statistics from this. We get about one failure of an ultimate sell target every 3 years, and that's over 21 and a half years. So if there is an ultimate sell signal, you have to believe it. There's no time limit, but usually you don't have to wait long. Now, when I came out with the system in 2002, I would just eyeball this, and based on eyeballing it, I would say there was one. We'd have to undercut this low at 47.11 and probably more than that. But I used to have a computer program, and the statistics I gave are based on the calls from that program. And I couldn't have the program eyeball it, so I had to feed specific criteria into the program, and based on those criteria, this isn't an ultimate sell, and we don't have to undercut that low. But just because it doesn't meet the criteria, it just means I don't have statistics. It doesn't mean it might not work anyway. If we do start down, which hasn't happened yet, there is a target of 47.30, and if we do start down, we could even undercut 47.11, not necessarily in a day. Let's not forget that the new year started by gapping down, and all we have is this strong rally right up to the point of the gap down. That's resistance. So we have a strong rally in a straight line up to resistance. And the rule is either you gap over resistance or the resistance wins. Well, the idea we have is that this was a low on Friday and we're heading higher. And if my count was right, this should be wave 5 going up, with a ways to go. Well, so far so good. Here's our great fourth wave, a strong move up. This should be a fifth wave with a ways to go if that's the right count. Let's focus in on this wave. Well, if that's if that's a impulse up, it should be a 5-wave structure. Here's the first move up. Where's wave 3? Wave 3 is supposed to be not the shortest wave, it's supposed to be a strong impulse. I mean, this whole thing, where's your third wave? I mean, maybe there's a way to count it. I don't want to be too dogmatic about this. Maybe there's something I missed. It's hard to stand in front of this, but I don't see a third wave that's really clear. And if it isn't a third wave, maybe there's some other count. This is a different count. It doesn't break any rules. Counts this first move up as wave 1. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and everything works. And in spite of the way it looks, 3 is not the shortest wave. 5 is the shortest wave. And if that's the right count, you could count this move up as wave C. And wave A equals C right at the high. So this count would explain what we see. I don't think it's the end of wave 2 because then we start right up and that count's killed. But it could be the end of A of 2, stopping right here at this high. And then there'd be a wave B down. Then you have to make a C. It would imply we're going to be piddling around for a little bit. But again, it explains us stopping right here. Closing the gap explains stopping right here. That's what we just showed. And now let's take a look at this. Now I told you I had a friend of mine who was kind enough to share some of his work with me, and according to his work, this line is a very important line, and it stops right here. It's based on time, and it stops right at today. And now let's look at price. Let's connect this high. We have a direct hit here, a direct hit here, a direct hit here, direct hit here, direct hit here. We have a straight line rally to a major league trend line, which is almost 4 years old. So we have a lot of resistance right here, and the rule is you gap up over the resistance and hold till the other resistance wins. Now, if you go over it and you don't hold the gap over it, I don't think it's going to stick. You start down, we have lower targets, 47.30, maybe even 47.11 at some point. This is major resistance, and all we've done is close the gap. Doesn't mean we have to stop here, but if you can stop here, I can explain it. It's not, if you're a bull, that's not where you want us to stop. Tuesday's pattern has a early low regardless of where we open. Typically, it's a bullish day with a high in the final hour. This week instead, more weakness should follow. VIX and NASDAQ McClellan oscillator have given Bollinger Band reversal buy signals. Higher prices should be coming. They don't have to come tomorrow. There is a lower MEJT target. If we don't gap up smartly, the rules call for it to print. It might fail because we typically leave a failed target or major changes in trend. But we've rallied to an area of strong resistance in the straight line. If we're going to continue unabated, we have to maintain a gap up. And if we don't, I think we see lower prices regardless of how we close. But if we reject right from this point, I've got much lower targets, even though I think the market's going up. So if you're a bull, you want to see us gap up and hold it. I'm just not so certain that's going to happen. That's pretty strong resistance. Tomorrow is a pattern with the early low. It tends to be a bullish pattern, but if it's not, more weakness is coming. So far, all we've done is close this gap. I don't think that's enough. The first 5 days of the year are down from last year's close. That's today's call.